Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Present.
Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor are in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Wallace, would you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence.
We could remain standing, please, for our moment of silence for our military men and women, first responders that passed in the line of duty. You can join me now. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, at our last council meeting, in keeping up with your call, we did have a moment of silence as well, just so you know, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Changes to the agenda, staff, council? If not, citizens' comments, a special meeting, members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter on the agenda may do so at this time. Note, under the provisions of California Government Code, City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. So any citizen comment at this time? If not, then we'll move on to our one item. This is a proposed budget 2019-2020, and
Yes.
I'll go to Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council and public, thank you very much for being here this evening. Tonight, we're prepared to begin one of our workshops as it relates to our 2019-2020 proposed budget. And our department staffs will individually present their respective budget. And this is a workshop, so feel free to ask any questions and stop us as we move along. There'll be another opportunity to ask further questions at next week's council meeting because we plan on having another little workshop at the beginning of that agenda. So,
Okay, just for the council before we begin, as Mr. Ramirez said, this is a workshop, so there is no permission to speak. If they're going through the budget, an item, and you see something you need to ask, just ask at that moment. You don't have to wait, just ask. There is no citizen input so just very informal at this point, okay? So, Mr. Baines, I believe you're taking it. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff, and the audience in attendance. So like Jose mentioned, this is a first workshop for the 1920 budget, and I'll be going over the city council budget. If you guys turn to any of his books to page 27, so we'll reference to the book as all of you guys have a copy of the book on there, so we can follow through the budget, what's proposed to what was 1819 adopted budget. So if you guys look at the total on the bottom, so basically I'm just gonna look at the totals on the bottom. As you can see, for 1819, the budget was 74,000 for council. For 1920, we're proposing 72, so it's a little bit of a decrease. The major decrease on this is just on the equipment purchase. We decreased it from 5,000 to 2,500. Other than that, everything else is pretty much kind of staying the same on here. Any questions on the council budget?
all right, so let me just chime in just really quick, okay? So again, as part of your travel, because that seems to be one of the areas of much interest, you know, for council as it relates to attending, whether it's the One Voice trip, whether it's the ICSC conference, the League of California Cities Conference, and other things, okay? So for this coming 1920 budget is $10,000.
What's professional services?
That's Myers Navi, attorney.
Yeah, don't talk to Sanchez that much.
Yeah, if you want to reduce that and put it towards the conferences, just, if he calls you, just ignore the call.
Yeah, well, a lot of the things, so every time you guys do call or email Jose,
Yeah.
the attorney, he is putting us on there as a, he said if it's 10 minutes, 20, 30, whatever it is, he's writing that down, and we do get charged for those services.
Yeah. But counsel, if you need to, if you need advice, do so, okay? I'm just kidding, don't. Yeah, we want to make sure that it's cheaper to call for advice and then to have to deal with it later.
Yes. So if council ever wants to actually see the attorney's billing and what he's actually charging for, et cetera, we have all those records, and you guys are welcome to come in.
Any other questions on the council budget? Okay, so let's.
Support agreement,
What is,
the computer support agreement.
yeah, computer support. Oh, that's for our Mid-Valley IT, for our IT service and stuff like that, yes.
Yeah. One thing, Jose, happy whoever, is I've been asking this for a few years now. It saddens me every 2 weeks when we get huge binders and then a couple of acres of Amazon forest gone down. I still think that we need to move towards paperless agendas to where we have terminals, computers here. So I think we need to do that. And I would like to see something, I don't know, what would it take? And I know you can put it towards a budget, because we can still amend it later, I get it, okay? But I really emphasize to the council that we move towards non-packet type agendas, you know? Put screens out here, move it, you know, and let's just get it, because we can download it from the website, but you can't tab it, you can't do a lot of that stuff, so it makes it very cumbersome to use it. So I really like to, and I hope I have the council's support in giving direction to Mr. Ramirez. I'd like to get this done by the end of the year if possible, you know, so.
I agree on that. I think initially it might be expensive, whatever, but I think in the long run it'll be more cost effective and environmental friendly. But I think it'll be more efficient also up here, going paperless.
Yeah, that's gonna come out of the council budget anyway, so we probably, under computer, wherever you guys need to maybe look towards it. It shouldn't cost that much.
So would you want actual computers in front of each
Well,
person right there?
You know, this day and age, and I don't know how our back end is set up, maybe I should get more involved, but you could literally have a virtual machine sitting back there where council can just log in, an agenda pops up. You don't have to have computers, just screens, you know?
Okay.
Or with what they call dumb terminals, basically, you know, and.
Touch screens.
No, yeah, so just, I'm sure that we can find folks, and there are other cities that are already doing it. So we don't have to necessarily invent the wheel. We can just copy somebody and say, here's what we did, and at least gives us a place to start, you know?
Yeah, Merced City does it now.
Yeah, and you know, and I can just imagine how much staff time we can save not printing the packets. And then I don't have to call the chief and say, where's my packet every couple of weeks, you know, and then, so I think it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, the one item that we have to address in addition to what you're saying, Mayor, is how council will access the agenda. We know how they're going to access it here if we implement it
Yes.
here, but how would they access it at home and if they don't get it?
Okay, I believe, and I don't know, some of us have equipment assigned to us already. So usually what I do is, more often than not, I don't get my agenda until like Saturday or Sunday sometimes, and I have to pick, yell at somebody on Monday. So I usually download it and look at the computer. It's not tabbed, you gotta go through the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. In any device, we can give folks the option of, do you prefer to have a laptop You can even bring it in
Or
and
an
dock it.
iPad
Or
or-
bring it and dock it and put up a docking stations or whatever, you know? You can just simply dock it.
Yeah, so we'll figure
Yeah,
out,
we need to figure something out. I really, by end of the year, would like to see this done if, you know.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree. So we'll look at that, and we'll try to implement something that's efficient, effective, and then cost, because, you know, we have to look at it comprehensively. You know, there's a lot of staff time associated with that, and then, you know, there's equipment and things, but for council.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, thank you.
So the next one I'd like to go over is going to be the administrative services budget. For the administrative services budget for the 1920, we have decreased it by 566,000. A big portion of that decrease is the transfer outs that's going to the 3 different departments, as I mentioned at the last meeting, for gas tax, recreation, and the community development. And another big piece that makes up that 566 is the 260,000 for the land purchase that we had for the house that we sold on Tehama Drive. So that one was also removed from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. So that's a big decrease that you guys see on that as well. Another big decrease on the administrative side is our salaries overtime. So I'm on page 31, by the way. Sorry, guys. I'm on page 31. The next page over, 31. So as you can see on the salaries overtime, we have decreased that tremendously from 27,000 to 4,000. And that big decrease is mainly from Frankie's being part-time and coming to council doing the minutes and stuff. So that's a big portion of that decrease from the part-time employees on there.
Just to share a little bit, Betty, when she was with the city, could not partake in the, you know, city council meetings and take the minutes and things of that nature. So with the addition of Monica, and now participating, that's also part of this reflection.
And then another big ticket item that makes up that 566 is the code enforcement grant that we got. It's a wash from the revenue and the expense, but we do have to take into consideration that that grant should be finished by the end of this fiscal year, I'm hoping. So that's not in this budget as well. If you see where it says 16 CDB code enforcement, there's no budget for that on it. As speaking to Lee, she has decreased her hours tremendously. So there might be some on it, but as of right now, that grant is supposed to be over for her services. I'm not sure if you guys, yes, go ahead.
On the, under 4220 and 4230 and 4231, I mean, I'm surprised that employer and employee contributions are going down. Can you explain that? I thought, why is there a decrease in PERS contributions?
Well, because some of the employees are gonna start contributing to that cost, so it'll take into effect that piece of the dollar amount there.
As you might recall from
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the budget negotiations, there's 1%, 2%, and 3%
Right.
contributions.
So, okay, thank you for clarifying. I thought that they were just adding, I know there was a decrease from the employer side. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that, you know, so.
Yeah, 2 separate line items, and so the total that we're requesting, and we hope to get there this year, with all the different bargaining groups, is for a total contribution of 7% from the employee.
Okay, well, I saw that, and I said, it didn't make sense to me. But thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions on the administrative services budget? So next is going to be introduced Deanna from the police department. So she'll go over the police department funds.
Yeah. She has a heavy boot on, so be careful now. Oh, it's
Good evening,
gonna,
Oh, go ahead.
the 1-2 punch, okay. All right.
Good evening, council, members of the public. Hey, tonight, me and Deanna are going to go over the proposed budget for the 2019-20 budget for the police department. So if you can hit the next slide, please. Oh, do I? Oh. Which one is it? This one, okay.
Captain?
Yes.
Also, please tell us the number of, in each class that you have as far as officers and dispatchers from last year to this year and then some, okay?
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah, just,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, this was put together by Chief Chavez. Again, he couldn't make it tonight because he was at the League of Cities. But anyway, as you can see, basically, we're the largest department within the city. Obviously, we're entrusted for doing 24/7 coverage of ensuring safety for the community. And a nice photograph, that was our last photograph taken during our inspection, what was that, in March. So if you can, And Chief went to go ahead and put up his little things from my guest determinator over there. And what is that? Marcus Tullius Cicero. Well, basically, I guess he's saying that our job is basically kind of like the highest thing within the community, because we have to ensure the public safety here. So I guess that's what his message is on this slide. Again, here's the current staffing levels that we have right now. Currently, we have 1 chief of police, myself, the captain. We have 2 sergeants, 4 corporals, 2 detectives, 8 patrol officers, 2 SROs, and in the detectives, one of those is assigned to the task force that works in Merced. We have 3 reserve officers, 1 administrative services manager, 1 communication record manager, office assistants, and 5 full-time dispatchers, 1 part-time dispatcher, and 1 animal control officer. Now, for the proposed staffing levels for next fiscal year, we're actually, if you can see, the only change is from promoting from within to a 3rd sergeant, and I assume that we're not going to get the 4th corporal, and it's going to be a 3rd sergeant. So that's what is proposed in the next fiscal year staffing level. Everything else is going to basically stay the same, and yes, there's no differences there. Any questions on that?
We're good? Okay.
So when we start talking about money, the items on the left side under personnel are pretty much things that we don't have any control over: the insurance, the FICA, the Medicare, workman's comp, those kinds of fees. There's a 7% increase from 18-19 on that personnel line item for those particular salaries, insurance, and so on. The maintenance and operations, a 4% decrease from 18-19, and you can see there where we're decreasing. The proposed police budget, $3,428,167,000, 62% of the city budget. And as Chief pointed out, the average statewide is 60 to 65% of the state budget. Additional police funds, we have our COPS grant, the California Citizen Option for Public Safety grant. It's roughly $100,000, and that covers 1 patrol officer's salary, roughly in and about. We have the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Fund, and that sunsets July of 2020. I just went to a meeting today at MSAG, and they are going to be applying for the grant again, which means it's a possible another 10-year extension for that AVA grant, which we just found out today. The Mental Health and Police in Schools, the MAPS program, We're at our 94.5 in our current budget year, and that goes for 3 years. It's a 3-year contract. The seizure forfeiture fund, revenue from assets seized from illegal narcotics. So we finally used up the extent of that money that we've had for, where'd Happy go? For 3 years now. That's at zero balance. We've used that money up. And the police department development impact fees, which is revenue from new construction used to support the police functions. Chief wanted to give you a list of the highlights and stuff that has gone on or will be going on. The Explorer Post, they did over 35 events. They have done over 35 events up to date. Parades, festivals, events over in Monterey, and so on. We completed the patrol locker and evidence locker project. The duty lockers and all of the evidence lockers have now been upgraded, and they are wonderful. If anybody would like to come see them, I'd welcome you to come over and see them. The evidence lockers themselves are nice and secure, and they're user-friendly. They don't, they're not made of particle board, and so we've replaced them all. They're all metal, and it's extremely secure. The parking lot gate access, which is that back door that goes from City Hall to the back lot of the police department, we got that finally wired up with our access, our key fob access, and we have that now. We're not fighting with a key that doesn't work and trying to get into that door anymore. The range classroom buildings and moving fees, about $3,000 to move the classrooms out there. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the roof maintenance, which we had completed 6 months ago, I think, Tony. That was completed from that storm, that big storm that we had 2 years ago in January. We had a lot of damage from that storm and a lot of leakage coming through the building. Our vest replacement federal grant, I just finished applying for that.
Before you, on
Yes.
the range classroom buildings?
Yes.
That also includes the upgrade to replace the simulation houses? Is that what that is?
That money there is strictly for the moving fees to move the classrooms out there. That's what we spent to move them out there.
Okay.
There is I did do a line item to improve those, to put like audio video equipment in there, and Chris gave me a number, and we kind of went with that, and we were looking at what we can do to actually put some chairs and tables in there to actually start using those as classrooms. Yeah. The vest replacement, the BVP grant, just finished applying for that, so we should hear within the next month or so if we got that, and that's a 50% match. The COPS grant again, the MAPS grant again, and our task force team members commitment has been fulfilled and is continuing to be fulfilled. And we're looking at a future promotion of 1 additional sergeant. Our 6-year CIP immediate needs is paving our rear gravel lot. The dispatch equipment, and when it says dispatch equipment there, we're talking about a radio system. We are nearing or almost at end of life for our radios, our consoles, our back end stuff. And so what the guys carry on them and what we have in the cars is top notch, and it's perfect. But what we have on the back end for the consoles and for the base stations and all that, we're at end of life on those computers. Yes.
So, Council, as it relates to the paving the rear gravel lot, there was an actual. From the grand jury. The grand jury came out, and that's one of the items that they highlighted. I mentioned to staff if there was another way, because that's a lot of money, $25,000. If maybe we can, do a portion in concrete, and does it actually have to be paved? So, we're still kind of looking into that, but at least for what the overall cost would look like for paving, we at least wanted to put down the total number.
Okay, thank you. Future needs, we're looking at re-roofing the entire police building. What we did about 6 months ago was kind of cosmetic and kind of Band-Aiding the situation. I know they went up there with the tar, and I'm not sure about the technical aspects of it, but they went up there and kind of filled the cracks and kind of stopped Band-Aided the issue. But that is one of the things that they're looking at for re-roofing the police department. Security fencing, taser replacements. We are at nearing the end of our contract on our tasers. Furniture and carpeting. And patrol vehicles. And those are just ballpark numbers that Chief put in for future down the road, 6 years down the road. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Yes.
Okay, if you can back up one slide, please?
Yes.
Under future needs, you're putting patrol vehicles at 300. We get it, but I don't see anything in this year, so are you planning to start that at 21 through 27
So.
fiscal years? I don't see anything in this budget for that.
Right. So do you want to talk about that, on what we're doing with that, Happy? Yes.
So right now, we haven't put anything in the fleet replacement fund yet, because we don't know where we stand on the actuals. So once we get done with actuals of this fiscal year's closing, then we'll see how much we have to give per department or per replacement.
And that'll be for all departments, that special fund?
Yes, so
Yeah.
fire has their
Yes.
own, PD has their own, departments have their own, so everybody has their own different pot that they're gonna see how much they can give from.
So when will we have that information?
Last day that I can post, August 30th is the last day that I can post items from this fiscal year, last fiscal year. So September, I'm guessing that'll be when we kind of start looking into it. Because at August 30th, I can still pay invoices that belong from last fiscal year.
Right, okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't see anything for this year. That means you have to double up the following year, you know?
Conservative on this, so I told the department not to put anything in the fleet replacement fund. They have money in there, but I couldn't guarantee that money was gonna be there after.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, trying to compare my sheets, and there was,
Yeah.
didn't make sense
Yeah.
to me, so.
Yeah, so this would be the most conservative way, and then we will have the actuals, and then there's no question. And then we can carry over whatever we have. But the important thing is that each department now has their own respective fund for vehicle replacement.
Yeah,
Only money right now that's in that fund is for the fire, and that's for that property that we sold.
Yeah.
But that's going into that fund for the fire.
yeah, and this question is for Captain or for whoever. How we do as far as our sidearms and for our officers, and, you know, are we all up to, for our weapons, you know, we need, you know, for lack of better words, like rifles and all that, we all up to speed on everything?
Oh, yes,
Everything's there?
yeah.
And how about our body cams and all that? Are we,
Everything's working great. We just
everything's
got a
working
new.
great? We have any shortcomings as far as need for upgrades on our,
We just upgraded our, we just upgraded our WatchGuard server, which is our body cam and
Right.
in-car video. We just upgraded that. They are doing the conversion over of the data next week. That's new. We just got a new server for our CAD RMS software. We are looking good as far as that.
yeah. And how is the text to 911 going? Has it been utilized, or how's it going?
It hasn't been used that much. We do have, we had one today? Oh, yeah. So Gustine seems to be using it more than Livingston. We have, there's a child in Gustine whose special needs, he likes to text 911. And so we allow him, obviously we don't, you know, but we respond and send the officers out there. So it's working great.
Yeah, it's
We
kind of
still can't
good.
receive videos or anything like that.
It's good that it's available, but it's also good that then I use, that means there's not much of a need, thank goodness for that, you know?
Right.
I have a quick question, for future reference, in regards to replacing the patrol vehicles. How many patrol vehicles are you guys looking into replacing, and what's the length or how long do the patrol cars last?
Based
In
on that
general.
number there, that is for 6 vehicles over the next 6 years. Roughly, how long do they last? I'm, s-
2-3 years, depending on, you know, how much they're used.
The chief, 1 year.
1 year.
For the chief.
How many miles do you guys wait until replacing the vehicles?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How many miles do you guys have on each vehicle before you replace it?
I have a log, I don't have that with me right now, but we actually monitor it every shift. They log in and they put their mileage in.
No, my question is, how many miles needs to be on the vehicle
Oh.
before the
When we start,
replacement?
about 100,000, yeah.
100,000?
Yeah.
And have you guys thought about other models besides Fords?
Not the new ones, because actually I believe the Ford is actually going out.
That's-
SUV, so we're actually gonna have to be looking at, other models, either the Dodge or, I think the, Chevy.
I think the Chevy's a little cheaper, so. Tahoe's, so.
I saw an interesting information from Dubai. They're using Ferraris and Porsches, and so, may want to look into that, I'm sure some of our folks out there will love driving a Ferrari around, so.
Does anyone else have any more questions? No? All right, well, thank you very much, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and members of the public. Chief Carter sends his regards. Sorry he couldn't make it. He was out on a fire, on the Sands fire, so he's not able to make it, so I'll present tonight. I made a short and simple presentation for you. I just basically did what last year's was, this year's, to make it easy. Try not to take up too much of your time during a special meeting. Basically, we're only asking for less than $3,000 increase for the fire budget. Besides, Happy was talking about for the vehicle replacement stuff that he's working on. Do you guys have any questions? Our biggest expense really is the grant, the $40,000 down there. It's a 50-50 cost share. We'll see what CAL FIRE will approve. We put in the application for it already, but until we know what they will approve, we obviously don't know the exact number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to highlight that PD did a really good job on their staffing levels. Ours is staying the same, 1.
Any questions from you?
Just if Jose or anybody could speak a little bit about the new fire station capital fund.
Yeah, also, I had asked at our budget introduction to include, I realize this is to what the city transfers to the county for our contract services for the, I don't see that. I would like to have that in there before we do the final adoption of the budget, because the 134,000 is not a true reflection
Yeah.
of our cost.
Yeah, I don't have the actual, I know
Yeah,
Jose does, but I don't actually have the tax numbers.
Yeah,
that-
so,
I have that in my PowerPoint presentation, I updated it.
okay.
630K estimated what
Yeah, because,
the county, with the residents paying their taxes to cover the fire contact.
yeah, yeah, because I really, really wanted that in there to show.
That is for the budget, but that's not part of our budget, that's just on the side note.
Yeah, but we also probably need to have that because I really, really want to reflect, because people think we're getting a heck of a good deal at 134,000 for a department. I would love to have fire services for 134,000, but we know that's not reality, so.
So, yes, Mr. Mayor, so basically what we're going to do is we're actually going to incorporate a asterisk with information on that.
Right.
And that way, at least when they see the 134, they actually will also see the total amount that's collected, that it's a pass-through, because we don't get it as part of our budget, but it is part of our budget, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, that will be reflected.
Okay, and also.
As an asterisk.
I probably should let Mr. Aguilar ask these questions as his pet jabo there, as it were. But the question I also have, as far as our safety equipment for turnouts and all, because how was that funded? At one time, it was funded through, the city was providing the equipment for the volunteers.
The city still is. Basically where we've been working it is a volunteer, they'll get their initial gear through Merced County, and then once they pass their probation, then we'll supply them city gear, so the city's not putting money up for somebody that's there for like 6 months. Once they pass probation, it's showing that they're gonna have a commitment. Then that's how we've been using the $40,000 in the bottom, the grant.
Yeah.
This last couple years, we pretty much got all of them, a brand new set of turnouts. We always try to have 2 sets of turnouts, so if we go to a fire or a vehicle accident or somewhere where they're covered, or, they're contaminated, we could have a second set so they could still be responding as we get the first set cleaned. So that has been, the most of their safety gear, we've actually been pretty lucky. We've been getting a discount through this, using the CAL FIRE grant and paying
Yeah,
half price
okay.
for it.
Yeah, I wasn't, because I remember that it used to be requests made and say, we need bottles, or we need gear, we need
Yeah.
this or that, and I didn't see anything in there, and I know that, but then I see that on the bottom is I see that from the grants there, But I don't want to see anybody out there without the proper equipment,
And we would definitely appreciate that. And then, once we figure out what the CAL FIRE will approve, that's whenever we come back to the council, and we have to get that approved through the council, so that CAL FIRE will honor the agreement, so we can make the purchase. And then you'll see us here probably in 3 to 4 months, I'd imagine, and once we hear back from them. And then on that one, we do have 3 sets of turnouts on that one that I put in there, because we have we have 1 volunteer that transferred back. That's so he get him a set of gear. Then we have 2 more that are going through the academy. So I'm asked for that through CAL FIRE. So if they get the academy and they get their 1 year in, we'll be ready to purchase it. And so we don't have to pay the full. It's about what I think it's around $7,000 per set of turnouts. So we can get it. 3,500 is a lot better than 7.
And our Type 6 is, I believe it's called Type 6. It's out in service now, or is it still
So
waiting for?
that's also something I wanted to bring up. Saturday, I'm working with Councilmember Aguilar. We're working to put together, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, so we can get the whole public involved. Most of the back ordered of equipment came in, and the manufacturer, or the company I'm ordering from, they said they should have the rest of it on Monday or Tuesday, so I can put it together. And then once we get that, we're going to, next Saturday, the 22nd, Juan will fill you in with what time, but we're going to do the presentation on it and then put it in service after that is the plan. So within a week and a half-ish.
Yes, that's correct. So Saturday, the 22nd, we'll have a little dedication ceremony. Most likely probably around 10 a.m. I think we
Whatever
talked
works
about
for
it.
you, Howard.
So yeah, the whole public's invited, everybody, council, everybody, welcome to come and participate in the dedication. I have a quick question regarding the electric vehicle. That'll be for this current fiscal.
Yes, Councilmember, we've actually already applied for the funding, so the match requirement, or not the match, but the difference, the gap, we're going to be funding in this fiscal year.
Am I going to need to count that into my budget, or is that coming out of the general fund?
No, that would be coming out of the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And other question, whoever wants to answer, Mr. Aguilar or yourself, outside of a new station, we get it. That's what it is sorely needed, and we can definitely replace some of our frontline equipment, like fire truck and all that. A smaller wish, if you could, kind of what are you guys lacking outside of the station and a truck and that, because those are big budget items.
So some of the stuff that would come with, like we would wish for the station, we really don't have a lot of room on the new station, or the old station that we're currently in because of room. One of the couple things that I know that we would want in the new station that's not there would be we have a special washer and a dryer that's made for our turnouts, because right now if we get them contaminated, we end up going to Hillmar to clean them. That's the closest dryer for us. It's called an extractor. And then that would be one of the things. And then,
Like training props, equipment,
yeah, some
stuff
training
like that.
props and stuff like that we're trying to.
Yeah, because training is important, as every department will tell you, be it public works, wherever. But you said the washing equipment, it can be put in where we have now or not?
No, it's pretty big. It's like a big commercial machine, basically, and it's specially designed for turnouts to remove the contamination, the soot, basically the carcinogens. And so we don't have, right now, most of those run off a higher electric. And
The closest one's in Hillmar?
Yeah, the closest one is in Hillmar.
Yeah.
And then a compressor would be also on the list to fill up our bottles, because right now we go to Delhi if we use any of our bottles on structure fires here in town.
Is there a other facility we can put those in so you don't have to go to him more?
I don't know.
Well,
Office.
let me chime in real quick. But before I talk about that piece, if we were to have that equipment, I mean, have that washer and that dryer, do you see an added value where we can, let's say, charge another department to use it, a neighboring, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that works. I'm just curious. Or is just, your use?
It'd be mostly our use. Most of the departments around us have it. I mean, I
Oh,
don't know if
okay.
we'd want to charge other county fire stations because we run calls and they do mutual aid with us. So I don't think we would make money on that.
Okay. I'm just curious because I'm not familiar with
No,
that type of setup, but I had to ask.
not a problem.
Jose,
Uh,
Jose,
yeah.
can you cover the capital fund for the new
Yes.
station?
So the capital fund. So as it relates to, as you know, right now, we're looking at the acquisition of a couple of buildings, and one of them is actually slated for the fire department use. There'll be plenty of space there. And so all of the funding, we're kind of pulling all the funding, whether it's on the development impact fees, the sale of some of the existing properties, and any other funds that we can identify are being pulled for either, if we can address the entire building itself, or do it in phases, since if we don't have, the full capital outlay to address it. So I think that at least the 5 bays and some additional property can be incorporated in the first phase, just some of the preliminary numbers. So we are on target for addressing some of your future needs, even if the entire facility won't be antiquated for, future use right away, at least a portion of it phased in.
Yes, and then one thing, just for the council members, Jose's really been working with us hand in hand on this, and in any questions he asks us, just because, obviously with the fire service, we're dealing with it, and he's been very, very helpful and great on it, so just want to appreciate it, Jose.
Yeah, well, thank you, and that actually leads me to the second piece that's important. I know it's probably hard to get all of the council all at once, and for notification purposes, it's probably best to have, separate tours of that facility up in Oakhurst that we would like council to go to. And we'd like to do that right away, so you guys kind of have picture kind of what some of the possibilities are, and then start taking this to the next step. Because we do have, at least we do have funding in place now where we can actually start, identify an architect and some ancillary elements to start moving on that. Of course, after the acquisition.
And I know there have been ongoing conversations regarding getting the second firefighter, full-time firefighter there.
Yeah.
So I know that's ongoing. I know we talked about it in the past, taking a tour of your guys' training facility up north.
Okay, yeah.
I know
In Ione.
hopefully it could be a possibility coming up, maybe. Besides the tour, on top of the tour. Another question I want to ask you, Jose. I know like 2 or 3 years ago in our budget, there had been some money set aside for the update or I don't know, some upgrades being done at our current fire station that it was a little bit over $300,000. So I just want to know or get an explanation of how did we use that funds towards something else, towards the Type 6, how as it reflects now to just being $250,000.
Okay, I know that some of the funding was used because prior to me coming back, if I'm not mistaken, there was an architect that was hired, and so there was some expenditure of some funds in that. But if I'm not mistaken, if that money was put in place back then, I'm sure that there's a carryover of that funding. So we'll double check into that and get back to you. I did want to talk a little bit about the part-time person, I mean, another firefighter. The way it works right now is that it's kind of like a pass-through. The county collects all of the funding, the fire funds. And so whatever that number is now, somewhere in between 630 to 650. And so from that, and so that in itself is divided 60-40, meaning all of the funds that are related to the city is 630 to 650. The county has to pay their fair share. So in essence, there should be some excess funds to the city that we've identified, and that's what we are in negotiations right now with the county, so that we can have an additional person on the ground, and if there's any excess funding even after that, then that will be incorporated into our local needs.
Thank you, Jose. But yeah, if you could get back to me, I really appreciate, just because I know that.
Do you have any?
That-
Do you have any? He's asking about, there was, at least in the 2017, 2018 fiscal budget, there was about $300,000 that was set aside for upgrades for the fire department, for this building next door.
Or maybe the previous year, but there was some money there.
There was something, no, I don't believe, if I may, okay. I don't know if it was budgeted, but I think there is that much money in the mitigation fund that could be used to, yeah, and it was that we could use that money for that type of route. But then I think because we're more focused on a news station, I think that idea was put onto the side because of that. So we can, instead of fixing that station, we're gonna go ahead and put that towards a news station.
Yeah, but I still want to know where that money went.
Oh, you wanna know? Okay. I have some further questions. I'll just touch base with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I misunderstood what his question was, sorry. I misunderstood your question, sorry.
Are you guys, any other questions?
Counsel?
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So do get back to Monica with regards to what day you guys can make it out to the little tour. I don't think it should take more than half a day, and
You know,
we'll make sure to feed you.
One thing we can do, if 5 of us want to go at the one time, we can agendize it.
Yeah.
So, people know that we're there, and we'll possibly be, or not possibly, we'll be talking city business. So, and if we can just make a bus available, we'll all go on a bus and.
Yeah, no, we can get you there. Our problem right now that Monica's been having is just scheduling all 5 of you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we'll ask Wapner
Maybe
to
on a
bring it,
weekend or
let us borrow
something?
his limo.
Is a weekend a possibility?
Oh, that's overtime, sorry.
Who's asking for overtime? Wait till we dock you from the last meeting. Come on, guy with many, many departments and budgets.
Very, very many. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, members of the public. Anthony Chavarria. I'm here this evening to present our proposed public works budget. Here's a breakdown, current staffing levels. We have 20 full-time employees, 3 part-time employees, 1 in water, 1 in wastewater, 1 in janitorial, 2 seasonal part-time in L&D and parks, 1 engineer consultant, 1 MS4 consultant, for a total of 27 employees.
And Anthony, can you elaborate a little bit more as far as your water and sewer department and the difference from previous years in terms of how we're approaching?
Yeah, previous years, we had 2 separate departments in water and wastewater. There were utility workers and there were waste sewer utility operators. So in the past, we had 2 separate departments. They didn't overlap. We changed that up. And now we have 1 department. We combined both departments and having the employees go after dual certification so they could serve the city in both capacities, water and wastewater.
And why is that? What benefits? How does that benefit?
For one, the employees gain a higher skill set and they could serve the community more efficiently in both capacities, and we're able to utilize and cross-train the employees.
And the rotation?
It will reduce another standby, so we only will have 1 standby in water and wastewater.
Yes. So we began implementing this overall concept since 2012, and of course it takes a little bit of time, hire the right people, and go through this whole process with the bargaining groups. And so happy to report that we're finally there, and the city should see a lot of cost savings.
So you'll see that our total is 30 employees, which we are not carrying right now. That additional 3 is up in seasonal. Maintenance worker, part-time seasonal, total of 5. I'm currently only carrying 2. I'll discuss that a little bit more on the parks personnel. Public Works Streets budget. So this budget is shared between our fleet department and our streets department. 18 and 19 personnel were at $229,436. Our proposed 19-20, $235,045, which is a slight increase. Our 18-19 operation and maintenance budget was at $159,900. Our proposed 19-20 O&M, $161,327, another slight increase. Our total budget, 18-19, was $389,336. Proposed 19-20 is $396,372. The largest increase was in personnel. Group insurance, which was 18-19, we were at $35,730. Proposed 19-20, $56,993. Our park fund. Our park budget is on page 58. Our parks budget, 18-19, our personnel were at $197,120. Our proposed 19-20 personnel is a $170,589. Operation and maintenance budget in 18-19, we're at $144,653. Our proposed 19-20 operation and maintenance budget, $148,362. Vehicles, equipment, and improvement budget. 18-19, we're at $17,932. Proposed 19-20, $7,733. The equipment we're looking to purchase is a portable eye wash station, a fuel management system, a rolling jack. Totals for the parks budget. 18-19 total is $359,705. Our proposed 19-20, $326,684. Largest increase was PERS employer contribution. 18-19 was at 17,363, and proposed 19-20 is at 32,295. Largest decrease was salaries part-time. 18-19, we're at 46,242, and our proposed 19-20, 13,695. I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. Time up? 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
So in the past, we carried 5 part-time Parks and LMDs employees, or permanent part-time. I did eliminate all 5 of those positions and hired 1 full-time employee that is allocated 70% LMD and 30% parks. We did change that permanent part-time to seasonal now, so we don't carry those positions all year long. They're only seasonal. And that's why you see that decrease in salaries.
Before we go to the water fund, if you can stay in the parks for a moment, please. One of the biggest concerns or complaint, whatever for lack of a word, is status of our state of our playground equipment. What is our plan to, because we got, and we all know the state of some of the equipment. What are we doing about that?
We are working on that, and I'll cover a little bit of that on my Parks capital budget. But we are repairing what needs to be repaired out there, trying to aesthetically keep up the appearance of our playground equipment, because it is old, it is antiquated, and I have that in my proposed budget in the capital.
Oh, I thought you were going to present all at one time. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
I got a lot of slides.
That's okay. That's okay.
I did not mention on the bottom here either improvements. We're looking to improve our kaolin patio.
Yeah. No, I saw improvements, and it was only $5,000, and I'm thinking, I wasn't sure how you had lumped it. That's fine. Okay.
Our water enterprise. (2018-19) personnel in our water enterprise fund were at $751,639. 2019 proposed personnel budget $871,767. 2018-19 operation and maintenance $1,532,103. Proposed 1920 $1,759,086. 2018-19 vehicle equipment and improvement budget $230,113. Our 2019-20 proposed for vehicle equipment $219,130. And we are looking at purchasing a new backhoe, a roller, light tower, storage shed, trash pump, and a pickup. A little bit on the pickup. Utility department, our water operators, wastewater operators, they did want another pickup, but since we have Tony as a superintendent now, we're going to be purchasing another vehicle because he doesn't need the utility vehicle with the boxes. So we're going to move that vehicle Tony currently has and give it to the water and wastewater department.
I think there was a question. Did you have a question?
Going back to in parks, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at page 461.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at childcare facility, ONF.
Yes.
We're looking at going from 3,000 to 10,000. Are we expected to do something special there?
Yes, we're expecting to complete a sod project and irrigation improvements. And there was quite a bit of expenditures in upkeep of the building as well. And that's why we increased our budget to that child care facility. So total budget in water, 2018-19, we're at $3,192,934. 1920 proposed, $3,989,454. Largest increase in personnel was PERS group insurance, which went from 66,272 last year to 82,000 this year. Our projects, the water enterprise is a new well number 8, which is $1 million. Any questions in the water fund before
I think they may, hold on, so.
Yeah, I got a question. The well, the new well, where's that gonna be at?
Well 8 right now, but we are talking to staff right now, our engineering city manager, on trying to reshuffle that because we are seeing some issues at well number 11 and well 9. So we may be completing well 9 before 8.
Thank you.
You want to know,
And
you
on
want to know
that
where
note-
well 8 is at physically? Yeah, his question was, where is it at?
It's over there by, you know where Foster Farms is? You know the,
Yes.
yeah, that's where all the
Sand-
filters.
sand filter? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you'll see a bunch of, I believe they're sequoia trees, yeah. And just a note on that, you know, we're active partners with Foster Farms, so we're actually looking at them participating and paying for one of those wells on their own as we address the other, which one are they going to be addressing, 11?
11.
Yeah, so we put in that ask for them to address on their own, and so we think that we're going to get them to go ahead and pay for that.
We've been having so many problems with well 11 and sand.
I got a question. I know I did a tour of the wells here a couple months ago, I'd say.
Yes.
Was all that organized again?
Staff is told to take care of that, the cabinet, so they are ordering that cabinet.
And what about the video surveillance? I mean, we have like millions of dollars invested in these wells. I mean, just the safety for, I mean.
Yeah, that's something that the city manager and I have been talking about, and looking for ways to take care of the surveillance in that area.
Okay.
We're looking at rather than, you know, hiring a firm that does that line of work, I think that we can do it in-house, you know, by incorporating, you know, these new technologies that are out there like Ring, where as long as it's connected to some type of Wi-Fi, you know, there's a sensor, and that's a lot cheaper than, you know, going this other route.
Any other questions in the water enterprise? Or wastewater enterprise fund?
Oh, Anthony, how many more departments are you going to cover? I'm not saying that because I want you to not cover it. The only reason is because we do have a photographer here, and maybe we can take
Let's just take a 15-minute break right now.
and then have.
We're at a 15-minute break.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor. All right. Well, it's all yours. You tell us what you want us to do and where should we get next to. We have the
We're back. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes.
Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Any questions? Okay, we're back on wastewater capital. Estimated fund balance for 6/30/2019, $431,778. Our proposed projects are SCADA tower.
You gotta connect it because it was disconnected.
Yeah, there you go. Why don't we just get a handheld mic over there
He's connected.
so we don't have a tripping hazard? There we go.
There we go. Okay. Proposed projects. SCADA tower install at wastewater treatment facility. So currently, we're having an issue with losing signal from our lift stations. So when we have an alarm, the operators are experiencing drop calls. They're not receiving all the alarms. They're in and out. And the issue we're having is the height of Motel 6. So that's blocking the signal from our lift stations to the wastewater plant. And we need to install a tower to reach over the motel to communicate. It's really important. Operators need those alarms, calling them.
Can you put something on top of the hotel?
I asked, and they're not willing to entertain that idea.
I got a question real quick.
Yes.
On the tower, how high do we need that to be?
We're looking at 45 feet, but they will be a study done. They'll raise it up and make sure that it's communicating properly. But I believe it's 45 feet. And that should clear the top of that Motel 6 roof. And it's very important that the operators get these alarms and receive them. Now, that's telling the operators whether a pump's out, AC power loss, and if we don't know that the pumps aren't working, then, well, sewage may overflow.
Another option might be the feed mill.
Excuse me?
Yeah, the Foster
Over
Farms.
Collier, feed mill. I mean, that should reach across the county if you needed to. It's high enough.
That's something we look into, too.
Yeah, because I know they used to have towers over there before.
Okay.
And very little infrastructure needed. They're already there, you know, so.
Equipment improvements, Sing Pump Station. That pump station is a storm drain pump station located off of Peach by Sing Park. The pump station is antiquated. They no longer make the pumps that are currently in that lift station, that pump station. Electrical panel needs to be upgraded there as well. Solids handling. We're looking to purchase sludge dewatering equipment. A little bit on sludge handling. So after the wastewater is treated, the organic matter that's decomposed, we're left with the accumulated sludge in the clarifiers. Operators have to waste the sludge to solar drying beds to allow it to dry before it could be hauled off. We've reached our capacity right now, and during the winter months, we can't waste. And what that does is that raises the mixed liquor suspended solids content in our oxidation ditch. And we're in compliance right now, but in a couple more years, we may not be.
So you're looking at dehydrators or something, or?
Well, we're looking at, it's a sludge thickener.
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Mechanical means inject polymer and help thicken the sludge so we can still utilize the footprint we have. It's a smaller mechanical footprint, but we'll still be able to utilize existing solar drying beds so we don't have to construct anymore. And this is a long-term fix, not a short-term.
You know, well, good thing is we get a lot of sun, so it helps out a lot.
Yes, we do. We do have a CDBG sewer line replacement project. The city applied for a grant. We're currently waiting to see if we were successful. When should we know? Jose, do you know?
Actually, so I'm glad you brought that up because at that last council meeting, I had mentioned that we had already gotten notification that we didn't get the grant. So that was not the case. So it's good. That's great news. So we anticipate in the next month or so to hear back. So keeping the fingers crossed.
Oh, so we're not sure either way right now.
Right now, we don't know if, what I do know is that they haven't.
They haven't said no.
No, yes, that's correct.
They haven't said no, and we are in a higher standing point-wise than we were last cycle. Any questions in wastewater capital?
Under wastewater, what are our long-term plans for the old abandoned ponds? In order for them to, if we would no longer need them, do we have to remediate them to if you're gonna not use them anymore, or we have other uses for it? That's an awful lot of land just sitting there.
Yeah, well, we're still in remediation, but as far as long-term use, we're not sure right now.
Yes, so the remediation, you're talking about the industrial side?
No, I'm talking about the domestic.
Domestic, okay, yes. So currently, we're currently leasing out that property to make some revenue off of it, but,
Ponds themselves?
no, not the ponds.
I'm referring to the old ponds.
Oh, the old ponds, okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, the old ponds, well, as you know, we can't use the old ponds due to that break that happened a few years ago.
No, I'm not talking about using them. I'm saying at one point or not, that's just an awful lot of land just sitting idle.
One thing we did look at, but we did not move forward with because of the ROI, was the solar.
Yeah, I realize that, and I know
So that's another option we could look into as well in the future on utilizing that land.
Yeah, because of the ROI didn't fit in, so I figured we gotta have another use for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we're trying to be prudent with that property because as the city continues to grow, there are going to be, other uses that we can look at for that property. And so at this particular moment in time, we're just making sure that we comply with the state and in terms of upkeep of that property and not using it for any other purpose.
Mm-hmm. TCP fund. Estimated fund balance as of 6/30/2019, $6,154,392. Sanitation enterprise. Our 2018-19 personnel cost, $205,239. Our 2019-20 proposed, $216,634. Our 18-19 operation and maintenance budget was $1,146,112. Proposed 2019-20 operation and maintenance is $1,116,350. Our 18-19 vehicle equipment improvement budget was $180,000. Our proposed 2019-20 vehicle equipment budget, $186,500. Now in that is $175,000 cost share for a sweeper, which is 50% of the total cost of $350,000. That money is coming out of sanitation and gas tax. But if we are successful with the CMAQ grant, that grant will cover 80% of the total cost of that new street sweeper. $2,500 for the new vehicle. Another $4,000 for the light tower. Total sanitation budget for 2018-19 was $1,531,350, and our proposed 2019-20 total budget is $1,519,044.
Okay, Anthony, on this, under disposal contract services, maybe Jose can answer that. I'm seeing under, I assume the second to the last line is the 2018-19, that's 1920. You're showing the same. You don't anticipate any COLAs from Jolton?
No, as you heard, I don't think you're here for our rate study.
Yeah, he wasn't part of the utility stakeholders.
No, so we have to wait for the R218 and, okay.
Mhm.
Because whether we're here, but I thought the COLA was a contract with Jolton, nothing to do with our rates. Because you know how Jolton always charges us so I don't see any increases there. Are you not anticipating any?
No, no. As a matter of fact, our solid waste fund is actually very healthy, and there's been, so right now, we're not projecting in actually recommending any increases. Okay, so we're actually looking at enhancing some of the solid waste services, but no, right now there's no anticipated increase for solid waste in the next 3 years. So that's kind of where things lie now.
I mean, that might be no increase in rates, but I was just so concerned about the disposal contract services, still showing that Jolton's going to get paid the same.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because Jolton usually has a COLA that they kicks in every so often.
Yeah,
And
happy.
I don't see any changes there.
Yeah, this current, the current COLA is incorporated, correct? The Jilton COLA? Oh, okay. So, yeah, so we
Yeah, 'cause
noted that, and we're gonna make that
Yeah,
modification.
because that didn't make sense to me, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. There is a COLA increase, so that will be incorporated in there.
okay, I just want to make sure.
Good point, Mayor.
Our L&B budget. This budget is on page 126 in the budget book. Our 18-19 personnel budget was $108,041. Our 19-20 proposed budget, $127,414. We did add one full-time employee. Our 2018-19 operation and maintenance budget was $1,073,223. Our proposed 19-20 is $1,086,625. Our 18-19 vehicle equipment and improvement budget was at $125,322. And our proposed 19-20 budget, $152,753. Equipment that we are proposing is a fuel management system, pickup or Kubota, it's a small UTV, a small tractor, a trimmer attachment, the rolling jack share. There was one transfer of $2,950 from the general fund to Monte Cristo. Any questions in the LMD budget? Our BADs. $18-19 personnel budget is $86,631. Proposed 19-20 personnel, $88,598. Our 18-19 operation and maintenance budget, $193,976. Proposed 19-20 operation and maintenance budget is $176,996. There's no vehicle equipment or improvements in this budget. Totals for 18-19 were $280,607. And our proposed 2019-20 total budget of $265,594. There was a transfer of $21,907 from the general fund to supplement the following districts: Kensington Parks South, Devontae Villas, Strawberry Fields, Sundance 4, Parkside Forecast, Country Lane 1, Country Lane 2, La Tierra, and Somerset. Staff still continues to look for ways to trim down the personnel cost to try to offset the supplement from the general fund. Any questions on the BAD budget? Measure V. Measure V 80%. Our estimated fund balance as of 6/30/2019 is $443,185. We have ongoing projects of sidewalk improvement, ADA ramp upgrades, slurry seals, crack sealing, minor street repairs. Measure V 20%. That's our alternative mode. Our estimated fund balance as of 6/30/2019 is $145,390. Funds can be used for projects that provide transportation alternatives, including bicycle, pedestrian, passenger rail, or other modes of transportation that reduce single occupant vehicle use. Our Measure V regional budget, so 2019-20, we have $840,000. That's being directed toward the Witten Parkway widening project. Any questions on Measure V?
Yeah, on the Measure V, the Witten Parkway, do we have a timeline? I know you mentioned it before, but do we have a timeline on when it will be completed?
When it will be completed?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I know we haven't even gone out to,
Well,
I get it, but, you know.
Yeah, so no, so we should be done by the end of the summer. So, I mean, it all depends on, the lowest and most responsible bidder, and we don't get any, what's the word? Well, like a protest, that's the word, any protests and stuff. So if everything goes smoothly, we should be done by the end of the summer, before Christmas, definitely.
Okay. And this is, kind of goes along with Measure V, and I'm sure other members, council members have got the same thing. We've had a lot of positive feedback on walking footpaths through the parks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we've had, and we, actually, the one across the street from me, I see people there all the time, and I know that Gallo is always used.
Yes.
So we've had people making requests at the sports complex to be able to walk around and all that. So is there any plans to do something like that, or?
Yeah, city manager already has that in the back of his mind there, and he's been communicating with me as well on future projects there at Max Foster to develop and implement some kind of walk path through there.
Yep.
Anything else? Impact fee funds. What are impact fee funds? The State Mitigation Fee Act allows municipalities to impose development impact fees on new residential, commercial, industrial development so that each development pays its proportionate share of the impact these developments have on the community. We'll move on to those funds. These are June 30th, 2019 estimated fund balances for the following: Municipal Facilities Impact Fees Fund, $847,959. Our Park Development Impact Fees Fund, $47,727. And I am proposing playground equipment at Memorial Park. Cost we're looking at is going to be anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000, depending on what kind of structure. Exercise equipment. Joseph Gallo, as you recall, we did add a extra piece of exercise equipment at Joseph Gallo. Our Storm Drainage Development Impact Fee Fund, $7,598. And our Streets and Bridges Development Impact Fee Fund, $366,056. Any questions on our impact funds? One thing I will be bringing to the council in the future, in regards to the playground equipment at Memorial Park, I'll be bringing before council, when it's appropriate, a color scheme of red, white, and blue, just to go with the theme for Memorial Park. Is there anything else I should be looking at as well?
Another thing, while we're talking about Memorial Park, and I mentioned this to the city manager already, VFW. They had approached at the night of the Memorial Day, wanted to put some lights out there on the flag and all that, so I think we maybe need to reach out to the VFW, because a lot of people were surprised what land belongs to VFW there, what is the city's. There's a certain area that belongs to VFW, it's not city, but we maintain it. But, you know, they need power, and there's no way for them to go across our property either, you know, so maybe some sort of a joint operation to get those lights out there, you know.
Okay, got it. Any other questions? Gas tax fund. 2018-19 personnel budget was $312,715. Our 19-20 proposed budget for personnel is $349,271. 18-19 operation and maintenance budget was $152,810. And our proposed 19-20 operation and maintenance budget, proposing $151,448. Our 18-19 vehicle equipment improvement budget was $176,400. Proposed 19-20 is $180,750. Here you see also the $175,000 piece for the new street sweeper. As I said, the sanitation fund, if we do get that CMAG, we are awarded that CMAG grant, that'll cover 80% of that total cost of that vehicle. And $5,750 for articulating drum roller. Largest increase in this budget was due to the group insurance and PERS. Group insurance went from $65,000 in 18-19 to $85,000. And last, our Transportation Development Act, TDA. Our estimated fund balance as of 6/30/2019 is $188,683. And our projects is a Winton Parkway widening project of $167,084. Regional Surface Transportation Program Fund, RSTP. Our estimated fund balance is $540,721. Projects that we have proposed there are Main and B Street Roundabout, $221,084, and our Winton Parkway widening as well, $486,017. Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Account Fund, estimated fund balance there is of 6/30/2019 is $295,896, and we have our Main and B Street Roundabout scheduled there as well for $295,896. That's the end of my presentation.
I think I'll ask enough questions, but I'll ask two more, okay? I know that it's early, but a approved agenda for next Tuesday's meeting is to approve a bid for the roundabout. I had asked, and I even posed a question to MCAG to see if it's a possibility of moving that roundabout money to the one on Briarwood and B. I think would make, I mean, we're not gonna give up the one we have, okay? But I don't know if they have responded, but maybe we can find out, because if that can be shifted over, I think we'll get a greater return on our money, because there's a lot more traffic over there, it's wider.
Right.
So I think it would make more sense if we could legally move it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we actually did investigate all that. And so basically, we would basically jeopardize the funding if we were looking at shifting, because the environmental and all the other things that were outlined for that particular intersection is tied to the environmental. And so we cannot move it.
How much was the environmental cost to that?
Well, it's not just the environmental. We would literally just, if we don't implement it there, we would lose it all.
Okay, I just wanted to see, because if it was a matter of doing the environmental at the other section, city can put in and say, you know, but I wasn't sure if we could do that legally. I mean, I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
requirements for that.
And as part of the Nelson Nygaard study that was done when we had the charrette and all that, Briarwood was also
Yeah.
identified as a roundabout area. So we will continue to look for funding to try to address that one, because that would be a nice area.
So that's been identified as a.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those are the two areas.
Okay. And last question, then I'll let everybody else, is regarding our shooting range.
Yes.
Police Department shooting range. I know that we've had on and off volunteers and folks, but I don't know if we can really rely on volunteers to do that. It is a city-owned facility, and I think between the police department and public works, who is gonna fall onto, I think we need to do a maintenance on that and if any other upgrades that we need, because, and I think the rest of the council would agree, if you got our seal on there, then that's our pride. You know, I don't think we should allow things, tall grass, and it's just, when the others come in, that's a reflection of the city and reflection of who we are, and I don't think we should have it that way. So I would like to see the police department and public works to get together and go into a regular routine maintenance to make sure that it's up to our parks. We put our parks up against any other city, we should be able to put up our range against any other city as well. So I hope that you guys will get together and work it out through the city manager, however it needs to do.
Okay.
And I will shut up and let everybody else speak now.
Any other questions?
We bought a weed eater for you, Chris.
Thank you.
Longest one, and the most money, so I counted the dollars. You actually beat the police department in total budget.
Yeah. So, yeah, in total budget, but he's gonna say it's not the general fund.
I get it, it's not the general fund, but dollar is still a dollar, so, you know.
All right, you're up, Jackie. Yeah, it's all fun. Thank you.
That's a good photo.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll talk about the folks up on top, yeah.
Yeah. Really good one. Captured the seal, the flags.
Good evening, everyone. You know, I never get to do this. In my 18 years, I'm at the end, and so I just want to thank you for letting me finally present. And I hope that you guys don't hear me like Charlie Brown's mother. Okay, next slide. I just push this middle button. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew exactly what our department is responsible for. Of course, youth sports, adult sports, contract classes, special events, summer pool programs, summer specialty and events, year-round park and facility rentals, nonprofit special event support, City Recreation and Arts Commission, downtown mural projects, teen volunteer programs, social and digital media, our community calendar, and then collaboration with school districts and other nonprofits in the community. So I've kind of taken a different approach here. I want we all know that you guys awesomely, so gratefully, I am that you subsidize our budget, because we're able to keep our costs affordable to the community, and we have, Livingston is super unique. If you build it, they will come. Our programs, they just flock to it. They just continue to grow. And so what I've done is I've just placed the programs that we have and the number of participants, but it's not just the number of participants. It's the siblings and the families and the grandparents that all take part in these programs. For the most part, our programs are self-sustaining. They may $1,000 here or a couple $100 here. We rely on the general fund, but a lot of our programs themselves are self-sustaining. Our adult sports, you can see our different leagues, how many people it involves during the different seasons. And all this information is on that handout. So you can really, if you have any questions later, or, you kind of know what's going on within the programs. So these are all of our contract classes. These folks that run these classes are usually on a 70-30 split with us. That means they make 70%, we make 30%, and those two cover their own costs. Our summer pool is probably one of our greatest in the whole programs, but all pools are. But a lot of the folks here that don't have air conditioning, I just keep thinking what a great service we provide to them in the evening. They'll come, they're able to cool off before they go home to their non-air conditioned homes. So then we have our summer movie in the park. I threw this in if you haven't come out. This is general fund supported. But it's amazing to come out and see how much the community enjoys our our movies in the park. Summer day camp, big hit in the community. It's very low-cost daycare. We now are charging $14.50 a day. They get breakfast, lunch, they go to the pool. We open at 7:30, close at 5:30, and the kids don't want to go home if their parents come to get them early. So it's really a wonderful program that is enjoyed by the kids of the community. We also employ a lot of our teenagers for this program, and we have junior high volunteers, so it's really a great training ground for employment also. These are our special events. You can see where we're at with them. I don't know if you noticed down there, our fire versus PD. I was hoping Chief would be here so he could see that bright colored bat. Other things that we do, of course, the Safe and Sane fireworks that are coming up, trunk or treat, all volunteer run, supported by the Rec Commission, our Sweet Potato Festival, our lighted Christmas parade, and the Court of Trees, enjoyed by everyone. Our downtown art district, you can see we're getting ready to do the side of the museum, and then our artist with some of his boxes that he's done around town. The only capital expense that I have been granted this year is the bleachers, the plank replacement out at Little Guys. If you've been out there to sit down, you know they're past due. It's really a safety. So for about $4,000, I can replace all the aluminum planks. Now, I normally don't put my wish list on here, but at the mayor's request, I did, and we're in need of new barbecues at Memorial Park. They're cracking, and you burn your arms when you barbecue. It's not a pretty sight. Also, the flies over there are pretty bad, and I thought if we could get some ceiling fans, and you got to experience that, Mayor, on Monday night, that if we could figure out a way to put them up there, that it would hopefully keep the flies off people while they're trying to eat. And then last, our baseball equipment is in really bad shape, and we're going to be working as a commission and probably come to you guys to see how we can get some new equipment for our coaches. So what I did, and we all, you guys, our revenue is $242,000 or $242,050. Our expense is $531. and $534,679, and we get help from the general fund for $289,628,000. But this I thought was pretty interesting, is adding up all of the numbers, we impact directly 21,872 participants in our program. And I think that that is quite phenomenal. I mean, that's more even than our population, but we do get people from all different communities. We get phone calls, how do you guys do this? You have such great programs. And we're just growing. So I really appreciate the general fund help, but I was thinking ways that we can lessen the general fund load would either be to raise fees or eliminate programs. And if anybody has any creative ideas, I'd sure love to hear them.
Or go after or grants too, possible grants, available
A lot of
grants.
times you don't get grants for programming. There is one coming up that they haven't got, that's through Prop 68. But a lot of times the grant is for capital, not for programming. So.
Yeah, one thing regarding raising fees and all that, I'm not sure how vigilant we are about, the program should be for folks with Livingston address first. So I don't know how well we check folks from out of town. I think we need to do a better job because that may make it available or lower expenses. And also, as far as fees, we need to hand it over to the Recreation Commission to come out with a fee schedule and bring it to the council. I already asked my question, I didn't wait for that. So.
Mr. Mayor, fee schedule in regards to like what specifically?
What it is, and thank you for Mr. Aguilar, is we haven't raised our fees for a lot of programs for a long time, and I don't mind some general fund support. We got to do it. I don't want any kid out there not being able to participate in something, but also we need to eliminate, or not eliminate, but hold down to where out-of-towners aren't using up our resources, because our recreation program is supposed to be for Livingston kids first. We're not going to say no to Delhi, but not at the expense of our own kids first. And perhaps the Recreation Commission can look at two-tier system. If you're a Livingstonian, here it is. If Delhi doesn't have a program, well, you have a Delhi address, but here's your fee. They may have to pay a little higher towards that. But I think, that might be, because I know we get a lot of folks from Turlock, because first of all, our fees are lower than theirs. So they don't want to play over there, but they come here. So I think Recreation Commission can at least look into that.
I don't know if that's a big impact in regards to a lot of out-of-town people.
Well, I know that other cities, there's a non-resident fee. So it's the regular fee, whatever you charge everybody, and then because they don't live here, it would be an additional like 20%. That's kind of the standard. I think that out-of-towners would be willing. I mean, they're just grateful that,
Yeah.
But that's something we can look into. At least the Rec Commission, I can explain how I go about with our fee structure. I actually was going to do that tonight, and I thought, if anybody wants to know how we develop our fees, come and talk to me, because I actually have a template that we go by on man hours and supplies and, officials and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Because it'll be interesting to know how many of our participants are Livingstonians and how many are from outside of our community.
and they fill out forms, so we could definitely, would be an easy enough
Yeah.
research to.
And do you know what the difference is from like Atwater and Turlock or fees?
You know what, I haven't done a fee study in a long time, but years ago when I did one, ours is phenomenally lower. So, for instance, this just comes to mind, back when I did study it, we were doing a $55 baseball registration, and Belpassi was $96.
But then there's other factors to consider. I mean, the community in Livingston, how much costs or jobs and all that stuff. So,
No.
I think that's what makes Livingston
No,
unique.
I
in
agree
regards
with
to
you.
affordability and all of that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Aguilar. Over the years, we have always supported through our general fund support. I'm looking at more of not Livingstonians, but outside of Livingston. We don't want to take the money away from our own folks, but others need to be at least pay a little extra if they're out of town.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting just to see if there's an impact from people coming out of town participating. But then again, I think that's what makes Livingston unique. I mean, we're welcoming to other communities, and we always, hear a good positive feedback from other communities. So I think we're a role model in regards to recreation programs. But I don't know how we could find out how exactly impacted our kids that live here in town are by outside participation.
We really have never had to turn anybody away. We just keep going unless it's way after the deadline and shirts have been ordered. And even then, sometimes if somebody drops, we'll let somebody come in. But rarely have we ever turned anybody away because we just make a little bit bigger team switch. The coaches sometimes want to, but yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
I would like to say that I'm hoping that with the budget for Public Works, since our programs are growing, we have had a really hard time making sure the fields are chalked and drug. The person that we had doing it had left, and I really didn't have any money in the budget to hire a 20-hour-a-week person to try to get the fields ready for us. And so we've had to rely on Public Works to help us out. So, I know it kind of puts them in a bind too, but I'm hoping, Anthony, I wasn't here to see what all you asked for, but if you did, I hope they give it to you.
Just a quick follow-up. I know we talked about it in the last council meeting about recognizing the sports teams from the high school. Was somebody able to reach out?
They should be on our next agenda.
They are.
Yeah? Okay. Awesome. Robert, I want one of those hats.
Okay. And again, if anybody wants to come into my office and see how that's all done, I mean, sometimes the public will ask you, like, what are they doing with all that money? I can show you what we're doing with it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. So the last one, yeah, just one last one. Just planning, and then we're done. It'll be real quick.
Alrighty, so for the last one of the night, I have the Community Development Department, which includes the Building and Planning Division, and I'm going to refer to page 110 in the budget book. So the Community Development Department consists of, we have one building official, that's a contract position, one building inspector, and then we have a senior administrative analysis, community development, and then a contract planner. So total, we have 4 in this department. So just kind of looking at their budget, I'll go over the major, the big differences from last year to this year. So biggest one, as you see, the first one right there is the construction permits going from 675 to 423, and that's just for the big ones of that was the expansion of Foster Farms, and then also the new text and tiles that was coming in. So those fees were already paid for this fiscal year, which are not going to go over to next fiscal, and also that the single-family home units have dropped down as well. As you see, that a lot of the subdivisions are being built and almost kind of completed. And the transfer in coming from the general fund, it was the same amount, $32,576. So going on the expenses, the biggest decrease is the contract services, and that's a lot of the the building side from the inspector and the. So I think just kind of going everything down, that's the major decrease on that side. For planning, there wasn't major big item tickets that kind of stood out. They went from just 177 to 173, a little bit decrease in the maintenance and operations part of it. Overall, it's probably $4,000 increase in the expenses. So changes from previous years, the Community Development Department has minimal changes, as I mentioned, compared to 1819. The decrease in building contract services due to the elimination of chief building official position. And in the planning division, there is slight reduction in hours for the contract planner and slight increase in registration, tuition, training to allow planning commissioners and staff to attend planning seminars and conferences. So those are big items on these. And then that's it for the Community Development Department. If you guys have any other questions, and like I mentioned before, if any of you guys have any questions to go into any in-depth detail of any of these funds, feel free, come by. I'll be happy to go over it with you guys, and I thank you guys.
Yes.
Council, any questions? No? Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, just lastly, we will be bringing, we'll be having another smaller workshop with more high-level overview. But if you have any questions between now and then, this will take place next Tuesday, prior to, the normal business for the city.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, everybody.